Today I'm going to have a look at the document repository and how an administrator needs to set it up in order for it to be used on your Atom server. To start with, we're going to go to the site settings in order to check that it is functioning on your server. We click on General and scroll down. There are two settings here which are important. The first is the physical location on your server's hard drive where the documents will be kept. This is important to make sure that this location is backed up so that we don't lose any documents if we have a hard drive failure. The setting above it lists a group of files, extensions, which are not allowed to be uploaded onto the server, and if Atom detects one of those being uploaded, it will in fact ignore it. And that's to prevent things like viruses and malicious code from spreading on your server. Once those settings are set up, click on Save Settings and head back to the Administration tab. If you scroll down, you'll notice the Document Repository heading. The first thing we're going to do is to set up our Document Repository categories. These are the categories into which we will file each of our documents. When you first open this, you'll see a list of predefined categories. What we're going to do is add a new document category. To begin with, we'll add one for our admissions documents. And then I choose a parent category under which that category will fall. Because admissions are to do with pupils, I will select the pupil category and click on Save. And you'll notice now my admissions category now appears in my list. Alongside are two options, either to edit or delete. We can click on Edit and add in the description that I neglected to add earlier. Documents related to a pupil's admission into the school. And click on Save. If I were to delete a category, it would remove it. However, if there were any documents in that category, and the number of documents assigned to each category is listed here, at the moment there's only one, which is in the pupils category. If there are any documents, Atom will ask you to find a new category to which to move those documents. One other point to notice is that when I edit the category, once I've assigned it to the pupils, you'll notice that although I can change its parent category, I can't change the fact that it's assigned to pupils. And so, for example, I can't change it to a parent category and I can't change it to a staff category. I can delete it if I need to and create a new category in parents or staff if that's what I wanted to do. Once I've created the categories that I need, I can go back to the Administration tab and we can then scroll down and have a look at the document category privileges. And this lets us define who can see which category and do what in which category. Now, when we first set up the document repository, no one has privileges to do anything in it. And so the site administrator will need to come in and set up these privileges first. So the first thing we're going to do is, for the admissions category that I've just added, I'm going to click on Change. And I'm then going to go through the list of security groups which I've defined in the privileges section in Atom. Which of these groups can either read, add, or delete files to my document repository? Read allows us to open the files, download them, and make a copy of them. Add allows us to add a new file to Atom in that particular category, as well as change the name and the pupils that are linked to that file. So add is quite an important one. Delete allows us to remove all trace of that file from the document repository. So I'm going to start off by going to our admissions category and I'm going to choose read, add, and delete for that. I'm then going to go to the heads PA. She often needs to read and add, but I'm not going to give her the delete privileges. And the heads and deputies often need to read those documents for interviews, so I'm going to give them the read privileges. And then I'm going to click down at the bottom on Save. And in this list, underneath the privilege groups heading, we see a summary of the privileges that we've assigned. Head and deputies get read. Heads PA gets read and add, and you'll notice that those pop up if I hover my mouse over them, while the admissions secretary gets read, add, and delete. I've suddenly remembered we've got some data capturers at school who will often need to add documents as well. So I click back on there and find my data capturers. There they are, and I click on add so they can add documents to this. Once they've uploaded the document to Adam, they no longer have access to that document. They can change its name and they can change the pupils that are associated with it, but they cannot open it and they cannot save a copy of that. And that is the basics of setting up the document repository. The first step is to check, of course, that you have the physical location ready on your server. The second step to make sure that you have the categories you need, and the third step is to make sure that the necessary privilege groups have access to those categories. Have a look at the next video, which will show you how to make use of the document repository.